Hi, I'm Andre Huey, and welcome to this edition of the SKN Newsline Newscast on Channel 95. Minister of Foreign Affairs Mark Brantley rejects allegations that claim that a top government official was bribed to provide Nigerian Ramon Alaruna Abbas, known as Hush Puppy, with a passport through the CBI program. Glenn Bart has more.
Premier Mark Brantley, the Minister of Foreign Affairs for St. Kitts and Nevis, said he has no information of wrongdoing by anyone in the Federation regarding 37-year-old Nigerian Raymond Abbas, also known by his social media handle of Ray Hush Puppy, who was charged in the United States for money laundering crimes. A media release from the Department of Justice, U.S. Attorney's Office, Central District of California, dated 20 July 2021, Hush Puppy was said to have attempted to acquire St. Kitts and Nevis citizenship through false document and bribery. The section in question reads, quote, "Other illicit proceeds from the scheme were allegedly converted into cashier's checks, including $50,000 in checks that were used by Abbas and a co-conspirator to fraudulently acquire St. Christopher and Nevis citizenship, as well as a passport for Abbas obtained by creating a false marriage certificate and then bribing a government official in St. Kitts," end quote. Commenting on this matter in his July press conference, Premier Brantley said he had seen material provided in the plea bargain which had not listed any wrongdoing by anyone in St. Kitts and Nevis.
I want to make it very clear that based on the little that I have seen in the public domain, there is absolutely no allegation being made against anybody in St. Kitts and Nevis, any service provider, any government official, or anyone else. And sometimes what happens is that people don't bother to take the time because they're more interested in the sensationalism and the attention grabbing. Because if people bother to take the time, you'd realize that all it's saying, it's like me saying that Hush Puppy gave $50,000 to a co-conspirator who used it to pay down on a house in Nevis. That doesn't allege any impropriety on the part of anybody in Nevis. It is merely saying what was done with $50,000 of the money that Hush Puppy would have stolen. So I want to make it very clear that I have absolutely no information that anything untoward would have happened here locally or that anybody locally would have engaged in any untoward behavior. And so I put that in what I would call the disregard bundle.
SK Newsline sought to obtain further clarity on the matter from the Attorney General, who was unavailable as of our news deadline. Glenn Bart reporting for SK Newsline.
The new executive of the St. Peter's Bus Drivers Association is not pleased with the stimulus package for bus drivers announced by the Prime Minister recently. More in this report. Concessions on brake pads, tires and parts for public passenger buses and a $400 EC per month gas allowance for 3 months is not enough for the St. Peter's Bus Drivers Association. That's according to PRO of the St. Peter's Bus Drivers Association, Delroy Carey. Mr. Carey, in an interview with SK Newsline, said the bus drivers had requested $1,000 in fuel assistance instead.
Well, while we appreciate the assistance that was given out by the government, we are saying that it is not timely and it could have been better. And why I say that? Because you offer us $400 for a month to subsidize it on fuel. Now we are saying that the average buses use about $120 to $150 a day on fuel a day. You are giving us $100 a week to assist with fuel. I mean, if you calculate that, we spend over almost $3,000 a month on fuel. So we were proposing to them that he would give us the $1,000 across the board for the next 3 months, along with the other initiative of the brakes pad, the brake shoes. We feel like that would have helped us a little better in the situation that we're in now. That plan that they roll out with the brakes pad and brake shoes, that has been there and already the government took it back. So all they do is reintroduce it. Like I say, we appreciate it, but we feel that is more of a long-term benefit than the situation the busmen are in now. I mean, we are struggling to meet payments because for the last 2 months now or more, we have been operating with 75% and at times less. It was down to half with the amount of passengers that we are allowed to carry. So it's a real strain on the bus operator now. The parts situation keep going up. So we having to spend out more, but we are actually collecting less. So it's a real struggle now, and we would have really appreciated the government could have done something a little more than what was rolled out.
Prime Minister Dr. Timothy Harris met with bus drivers earlier this month to discuss the concession. In that meeting, he expressed to the bus drivers that this was the best the government could do to assist them due to the financial challenges brought about by the COVID-19 pandemic.
And the efforts that many of you made, notwithstanding the pressures of the COVID, to comply and to be helpful. You did it when we had the first lockdown, you did it again, and we understand some of the issues. And so we said we wanted to help and to indicate to you that we are with you, even at this difficult time. You render an important service, and we want you to continue to provide that good support.
Based on a ZIZ TV report, the representatives of the various bus drivers association present at that meeting had a more positive response to the stimulus package.
I really think that it was a good step in the right direction for us as bus drivers. Even though we weren't able to get some of the stuff that we would have asked for, I still think that he was extremely helpful in chartering the course that would help us to get to where we need to get.
I felt very special because he took his time out to listen to us as the president and to hear our concern. So the meeting to me was very productive. I know that this is a pandemic and he won't be able to do much, but at least he has promised to do something in conjunction with the stimulus package. So we want to say thank you, and thanks to the Prime Minister for using that gesture.
But Mr. Carey has a different opinion. He believes that despite government's financial challenges, they could have done more.
It is considered, yes, but what we are saying that when we look at some of the other packages that was rolled out, in some instances they were increased. And what we are saying that we was only asking for a $600 more, because we are saying that take back the 4 and give us $1,000 for the next 3 months. We wasn't asking it for 6 months per year. We're just saying just help us with the $1,000 for the next 3 months, which could have helped bring back some of us, the operators, back to a level playing field in terms of our expenses.
The bus drivers were required to lessen the number of passengers on their buses as part of the government's measures to restrict the spread of COVID-19. I'm Andre Huey reporting for SKN Newsline. When we come back, police investigating shooting incident on Nevis. Elliot's Funeral Parlor is the first licensed embalmer in the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis. We have a friendly and professional staff. At Elliot's Funeral Parlor, we offer a wide range of packages from $6,500, homegoing service at chapel, locally made caskets, tailoring of outfit for deceased of your choice, wake, overnight with slideshow, funeral, death announcement, obituary, booklets, family pin-ons, memorial books, preparation of funeral arrangements, wreath, fresh and artificial. For further information, call 469-3298, 664-2007, or 660-0186. Elliot's Funeral Parlor in Gingerland, Nevis. Dedicated to those we serve.
When you need electronics or appliances, find just what you want quickly in one location. Yes, everything's under one roof. Only at Smart Electronics. We have tons of name brands, amazing service, and easy layaway plans. Summer is just around the corner, and we will save you the hassle of walking around town or going to St. Martin. We have everything you need right here in St. Kitts, so don't get confused and go different places. We are located at Port Zonte opposite the food court. Visit us today, or if you have any questions, you can call 466-4271. Smart Electronics, way to live a smart life. Terms and conditions apply.
Where will we go when the quarantine thing done and everybody touch?
An open interactive event can be described as
tremendous, effective,
on par with any conference around the world.
From exhibitions to trade shows, corporate events to product launches, from press events to political functions. We are the secret sauce behind events that make you go, wow. We've staged multiple world-class events in the Caribbean and developed the skill to deliver quality in every detail, whether the event is live or fully virtual, or maybe even somewhere in between. At Open Interactive, we got your events covered. Get your free quotation today at www.madebyopen.com.
Auto Plus Car Wash, located on the College Street Gut, Bastyr, St. Kitts. Bring your car to Auto Plus Car Wash to remove water stains, wiper marks. Get your doors, roof panel cleaned, seat floor mats, buffing, headlights, and engine wash. You get quality service at the best price at Auto Plus Car Wash. They really care for your car. Call 765-5140 or visit them on the College Street Gut, Bastyr, St. Kitts. Auto Plus Car Wash, where the service is number one. The Federation on Thursday recorded another incident of gun violence when a young man from Nevis was shot and injured. The police announced that an investigation has been launched into the shooting incident that occurred on Pump Road around 3 a.m. In a terse statement on Thursday, police revealed that a man was shot and injured in the incident. He was warded at the Alexandra Hospital. The latest shooting comes just 2 days after 29-year-old Akeem Paris and 36-year-old Kyle Cleveland Williams of Carty Alley were both killed in a shooting incident in Newtown. In that incident, police said around 8 p.m. on Tuesday, they responded to a report of a shooting incident in Newtown. Upon arrival, they found the motionless body of Williams lying on George Street in the vicinity of Carty Alley. Preliminary investigations reveal that Williams and Paris both were sitting at the junction of George Street and Carty Alley when armed masked assailants approached and fired several gunshots in their direction. Both men were struck several times, and Williams died at the scene, while Paris was transported to the General Hospital, where he succumbed to his injuries. Reports from the Forensic Services Unit had processed the scene, and several items of evidential value were taken into police custody. Police are asking persons with information regarding this incident to contact the Violent Crime Unit by calling 467-1887, 467-1888, 662-3468, the nearest police station, or the crime hotline at 707, where information could be given anonymously. I'm Audrey Huey for SKN Newsline. Police draw the line against COVID-19 quarantine breakers through criminal charges in their stepped-up monitoring. SK Newsline's Glenn Bart reports.
Police Superintendent Cromwell Henry said a zero-tolerance approach is being taken for breaches of COVID-19 quarantine. As the country recovers from a recent lockdown, Superintendent Henry said several investigations are currently ongoing and a recent incident involving visitors resulted in their court convictions and fines. Speaking during the 28 July NEOC COVID-19 briefing, Henry said COVID-19 quarantine breakers put the community at risk. Therefore, such cases will be investigated and criminal charges imposed.
On Wednesday, 21st July, Farrakhan Asagai and Natasha Robinson arrived in the Federation from the USA and were in quarantine at the Mount Pelier Hotel in Nevis. On the morning of Saturday, 24th July, the couple left their quarantine without authorization and journeyed to St. Kitts via a ferry. They were eventually located at a residence in Frigate Bay that night and were taken to the government quarantine facility at the OTI to complete their quarantine and to be tested. Their test results returned negative and they were released from quarantine on Tuesday, 27 July. They were taken back to Nevis, where they were arrested and charged for breaching their quarantine. And they were taken before the Charlestown Magistrate Court, where they were convicted and fined US $500 to be paid in 1 day. The fines were paid and they were allowed to leave the Federation. The police have taken a zero-tolerance approach to breaches of quarantine, as this puts the entire community at risk. We've had some persons who would have breached their isolation, and as I indicated, a criminal investigation has been launched. In fact, the Criminal Investigation Department has a full-scale investigation ongoing into the activities of those persons, and I'm certain that we will be announcing the result of those investigations in due course. So yes, persons who breach their isolation and their quarantine, they will be investigated and appropriate criminal charges will be brought against them.
In the 28th July situation report, it was announced that health authorities are monitoring 42 active cases and there are 2 persons currently hospitalized. Glenn Bart reporting for SK Newsline.
Premier Mark Brantley said over the next few weeks the economy of Nevis will be closely analysed following COVID-19 related stimulus packages and with a decline in revenue to Nevis's treasury.
Over the coming weeks, the Nevis Island administration will undertake a thorough economic review to better understand the economic impact of the COVID-19 pandemic on Nevis. Speaking at his 29th July press conference, Premier Mark Brantley said NIA is still in a difficult position given that key revenue streams are substantially reduced and important economic stimuli were provided. He indicated that the Nevis Island administration revenue had been reduced by about 20%.
In terms of economic recovery, we are now in the next few weeks going to be doing a sort of deep dive in terms of where we are. We are still in a very difficult and precarious position now because our revenue stream has not only been significantly reduced, but we have also had added demands on us. So for example, we have given considerable concessions to our farming community. We have given considerable concessions to our small business community. We have given considerable concessions to those homeowners who are in construction and building a home or adding on to their home as the case may be. And so we think that that has resulted in us having an erosion of our usual ability to bring in revenue. We see that, however, as a necessary expenditure to generate economic activity on the island. And we are pleased that, for example, in construction and in agriculture, we are seeing considerable movement on the ground. I think all of us who live here would admit that as a driver around the island, you see a considerable level of home construction, building construction that is happening, and you see a considerable level of agriculture that is happening across the island. And so we see those as 2 growth areas, and we will have a deeper dive to really be able to understand how they have been impacting.
With the recovery in tourism still substantially retarded, it is believed that economic recovery will be slow but steady. Glenn Bart reporting for SK Newsline.
When we come back, regional news.
The SKN Newsline website now offers you more news. Log on to www.sknnewsline.com for local, regional, and international news. You can also watch the latest newscast and keep abreast with news in sports, all from sknnewsline.com. That's www.sknnewsline.com. News at your fingertips.
It's the new and improved SK Newsline Android mobile app. With the SK Newsline app, you can watch your news reports, the SK Newsline Newscast, sports, special features, and so much more. You can also send us a WhatsApp or call us directly. Go in the Google Play Store, search SK Newsline, and download the app today. The SK Newsline mobile app. News on the go. Welcome back. We turn our attentions now to regional news. Jamaica's opposition spokesperson on education, Dr. Angela Brown-Burke, is rejecting the government's decision to differentiate teachers' compensation based on vaccination status. More from CVM TV.
I want to say just how alarmed I was at the statement made by the Prime Minister in relation to what he calls differentiated compensation for teachers. I want to say to him, banish the thought.
The Shadow Minister on Education and Training says Jamaica is still a democratic state and should be governed as such.
And if we are to adopt that, what that would mean is that the government would need to engage our teachers in real partnership and listen to them, talk to them about their experiences. What are their concerns? What are their fears? What are their challenges? What is preventing the numbers of vaccinated teachers from increasing? What are some of the things that would need to change to ensure that we have an effective teaching and learning process engagement for September?
She says while the Prime Minister may be concerned about the Delta variant and the low vaccine take-up, education is a partnership.
I know that these are frustrating times and these are difficult decisions that we have to make, but we have to start from a premise that our teachers want the best for themselves, for their parents, for their children, and for the children that they come in contact and students they come in contact with every day.
Dr. Brown-Burke also had this to say.
I heard in June, I think it was, when the JTA spoke, at the time they had 8,000 teachers who were vaccinated. And the point they were making at that time is that the vaccination level amongst teachers was probably higher than the national level. And if that trend has continued and remains so, then the Prime Minister would certainly owe the teachers an apology. But I just want to suggest that the teachers and our principals be engaged in a respectful manner where, you know, the government, the Ministry of Education, the teachers get to share ideas around what is best for all of us at this time.
Nika Lewis, CVM Live.
St. Lucian Prime Minister Philip J. Pierre, who vowed to put St. Lucia first, outlined some of his plans for the new Labour Party administration. HTS TV reports.
It's official. Philip J. Pierre has been sworn in as Prime Minister of St. Lucia. The auspicious occasion took place right here where I stand at the Governor General's residence on Wednesday, July 28, 2021. Following the swearing-in ceremony, Pierre fielded questions from members of the media. He responded to what he believes may be one of his biggest challenges after taking the reins of power.
I have to bring some level of normalcy, some level of togetherness, some level of trust. You can't have in this country, no one seems to trust anybody. You can't trust the government. I always said that if a country cannot trust the words coming from its leader, then something's wrong with that country.
As for the Prime Minister's top priority, it remains the health of the nation.
We have to get St. Jude Hospital open. We have no choice. I know many people are speaking about finding out how much money was spent at St. Jude. I will find that out too. But my main objective is to get these people out of the stadium. These people have been in that stadium now for 12 years. While politicians argue, while politicians make threats at each other, while politicians call the police to look for equipment. I mean, this, and the people are suffering.
Pierre affirms that as St. Lucia's Prime Minister, victimization of opposition members will be a thing of the past.
There are 2 members in the opposition and two independents. We will give them the respect. We will not invite them to cry. We will not wish that they cried anymore. We will not starve them of resources. I've taken the position publicly, and I'm going to ensure that each parliamentarian will receive an allocation for its constituency.
The formalities of handing over power from the United Workers' Party administration to the St. Lucia Labour Party administration is now officially complete. J-Pierre says in the coming days he will be announcing his cabinet of ministers as he looks forward to a smooth transition. From inside the Governor General's residence, Solange Alfred, HTS News Force.
U.S. President Joe Biden has announced a new push to get more Americans vaccinated, including new rules for federal government employees and cash incentives. Al Jazeera's Shihab Ratansi reports from Washington, D.C.
Just a few weeks ago, the White House was touting what it said would be a summer of joy and freedom. Things have changed.
This is American tragedy. People are dying and will die who don't have to die. If you're out there unvaccinated, you don't have to die.
The U.S. president announced a mixture of incentives and requirements. Employers will be reimbursed for paid sick leave given to employees to get vaccinated, and Biden urged local authorities to use emergency federal aid to offer the unvaccinated $100 to get their shots. In addition, federal government employees and contractors will be required to disclose their vaccination status. If they refuse or are unvaccinated, they will be required to wear a mask no matter their location, physically distance from others, be tested weekly or twice weekly, and have travel restrictions imposed. But this isn't a federal vaccine mandate. The president said he wasn't clear about the legality of one, and federal employees have a choice not to get vaccinated, but clearly their working lives will be more difficult as a result. Biden made it clear this was not a partisan issue.
The vaccine was developed and authorized under a Republican administration, and it's been distributed and administered under a Democratic administration. The vaccines are safe, highly effective. There's nothing political about them.
We have a country in crisis.
That wasn't the message on Capitol Hill, where masks are now mandatory in the House of Representatives, leading to statements of outrage from the Republican minority leader. He tweeted that liberal officials wanted to live in a perpetual pandemic state, which led to this withering response from the Democratic Speaker of the House.
Leader McCarthy says it's against the science.
It's a very unusual, rare event.
The administration's leading virus expert has been trying to explain this is a dynamic situation.
What's changed, Judy, is the virus has changed. The Delta variant has a very unusual capability of spreading much more easily than the Alpha did.
The debate about masking in schools is getting heated across the country.
These kids are not affected. Please stop the insanity. You have already done damage to these kids by having them wear masks.
It is.
But other parents argue that it's masking up that would end the confusion about safety.
Oh, tremendously more so comfortable because the strategy worked. They proved it worked. They proved it worked last year.
But perhaps there are some hopeful signs that those who've decided not to get vaccinated so far may not be firmly entrenched in their position. While still way down from the peak seen in April, the numbers of those getting vaccinated have been creeping up week on week. Shihab Ratansi, Al Jazeera, Washington.
Italy has fully vaccinated more than half its population aged above 12, but hundreds of thousands of undocumented migrants have been left out.
On a recent evening in Rome, a couple of dozen people get their jabs at a pop-up COVID-19 center. Some are homeless, others are immigrants. Clinics like this are the only chance they have to get vaccinated.
You can't get a vaccine appointment, a health card, or visit a doctor if you're like me and your residency isn't sorted out.
Across Italy, there are more than 600,000 people who live and work without documents, many of them migrant farm workers from Asia and Africa. And for months, Italy has struggled to find a way to reach these communities. It was made more difficult because the delivery of care is handled by Italy's 20 regions, so each region has had to come up with its own plan.
It's a public health and political challenge. The goal is to provide a service to the last ones in line, migrants who have been totally exploited. And at the same time, we help ourselves by vaccinating them.
Now, regional health officials are partnering with agencies and charities and going directly to these communities, making appointments for people whether they have national health insurance or not. They're also setting up mobile vaccine centers, like this one on the edge of a large immigrant community. In 3 days, officials have vaccinated more than 1,100 people here, all of them migrant farm workers, and 20% of them have no legal work papers. We asked some here if those without documents were afraid of being caught out and sent home just by taking the shot. Through a Punjabi translator, one undocumented worker told us he wasn't scared. He just wanted to be safe from COVID-19. Many migrants are given a single Johnson & Johnson dose, an acknowledgement that they are hard to track down for follow-up appointments. Some officials, though, are hoping this is a turning point for Italy. At the pop-up clinic in Rome, temporary national health cards are issued.
So the vaccination become an entry point to give some form of health assistance to people that do not have the opportunity.
Italy relies heavily on foreign workers to pick its fruit and vegetables. Although regions are trying to vaccinate as many people as they can, there's no national database of how many undocumented migrants have received the shot. That poses a risk both to the migrants themselves and Italians. Adam Rainey, Al Jazeera, Rome.
In sports, as we await the restart of the SKNFA Premier League, the Football Association will be featuring the 12 teams in the Premier League. Today we profile league leaders St. Paul's FC. The St. Kitts Nevis Football Association Premier League has been on break since the ending of May 2021 due to the COVID-19 outbreak in the federation. Competition was suspended in the early part of round 2 with the SL Horses St. Paul's United leading the table. Now, with sporting organizations given the all-clear to host events, the SKNFA announced to its member clubs that the Premier League will resume on September 18th, followed by other football competitions. While we wait for football to resume, the SKNFA will feature the teams in the country's highest level of football competition and how they have performed this season. We begin with league leaders SL Horsford St. Paul's. St. Paul's entered this season with the high hopes of retaining the SKNFA Premier League title. After their sensational 2020 title win, led by their talisman Keith Roy Freeman, St. Paul's added more ammunition to their potent strike force. The league's second highest scorer last season, Vince Roy Nelson from Keon. The dynamic duo wasted no time to show their goal-scoring prowess. Football commentator and pundit Sylvester Charles lauded St. Paul's longevity and consistency for their success so far in the league.
Well, congratulations to St. Paul's. They have really been playing well, tremendous football from the start of the league. They have maintained a very high standard. They were fortunate against Vince Roy Nelson from Keon. That's another very exciting player who had transferred, strengthening the offense of the St. Paul's team. And then you had Keith Roy Freeman. You can't say much about Keith Roy Freeman. He's almost unstoppable on the field of play. And with players like those from St. Paul's and the attitude generally from the players out of St. Paul's, it's like really true defending champions. I think they deserve the position that they're in. They are well supported by their fans and by management. And you could see when they come out to play, they have the attitude of winners. They're champions. And so they exhibit that onto the field of play. So I think they're going to be a very difficult team to beat.
Their only blunder was losing to St. Peter's FC in the first round. In that match, they were without Keith Roy Freeman and Nelson, who were in quarantine after returning from international duty in World Cup qualifiers. Interestingly, they succumbed in the late stages of the match to a free kick from former St. Paul's player Aidan Nurse, who returned to his boyhood club after winning the title with St. Paul's last year.
It up and over. It comes in the net. Nurse! Beat the keeper, beat the wall, and St. Paul is in awe.
But even with the defeat, St. Paul's kept moving like a runaway train. It will be left to see if the long layoff from football will have any impact in St. Paul's efforts to retain the Premier League title. As the men's 100-meter approaches this weekend at the Tokyo Olympics, former Trinidad and Tobago Olympian Atto Bolden looks back at an iconic race in Atlanta 1996. More from TTT Sports.
TNT Olympic hero Atto Bolden is all set to begin commentary on the track and field portion of the Tokyo Olympics with the NBC network, as he gives expert knowledge of a sport he knows very well. But he also had a storied career, filled with ups and downs, and spoke recently of the race he would like to do over. It was the 100-meter final of the Atlanta Olympics in 1996.
It is still the only race I would want to do over, because the Olympics is about executing on the day and about keeping your composure and your nerves when the screws tighten. And my relative inexperience prevented me from doing any of those. When all of that stuff starts happening, I am the, if you go back and look at the full tape, I am the one that's losing my cool. And for what? What am I losing my cool for? Well, I'm losing my cool because one of the 4 stars was called against me, and I did not think that was a 4 star. I thought I hit that gun perfectly. So that was one frustration. The other frustration is Linford doesn't want to leave. And I'm like, yo, I had to go and get my gold medal, partner. Leave, hurry up.
He further explains that after all of the waiting around and false starts, he suffered the most, and explains in how many ways.
When the actual gun actually releases us, gets a great start. And instead of going through my, at the time, 7 steps, it wasn't dry phase yet, we used to call it 7 steps. Instead of going through my 7 steps and being patient, my thought is, catch Dennis. So I kind of throw away my game plan and I go after Dennis, and I catch Dennis pretty quickly. So I lead the race 30, 40, 50, 60, but now you have to pay the price for throwing away your race pattern early. Okay, so now the gold is gone because Donovan is coming. And then I get to the line and make another mistake. I turn to look.
I saw that, yeah.
And Frankie outlanes me. So if there was something that I could have done wrong in that race, I did it. And the price for not executing in the Olympics is you don't perform up to your level.
This has been the SKN Newsline and Newscast on Channel 95. If you want more on these stories, you can visit our website at www.sknnewsline.com. From all of us here at SK Newsline, I'm Andre Huey. Thank you for watching.